I've called this press conference today to introduce my new cabinet. I thank Singaporeans again for the strong mandate which they gave me and my team in the general elections. As I said, for many months before the GE and again during the 9-day campaign period, this election was about our future and about whom we want to form our government. An overwhelming 70% of voters chose the PAP to take on this responsibility and sent a clear signal of the direction which they'd like Singapore to take beyond SG50 and the kind of leaders which they would like to have working with them to take Singapore forward. I'm very humbled by Singaporeans' confidence in me and my team and in the heavy responsibility which they have placed upon us. So today I'm announcing my new cabinet lineup, which is in keeping with the responsibility which we've been entrusted with, to provide Singapore with a competent government and to prepare the next team of leaders to be ready to take over from me and my senior colleagues soon after the next general elections. Singapore is entering a new phase of our nation building, more complex challenges, more issues which involve multiple ministries, and also individual ministries whose responsibilities have grown over time. And the government needs to adapt to these changes. We need tighter coordination across different ministries so as to have a more coherent whole-of-government response to broad, important issues. And in some ministries, we also need more than one minister, each responsible for a different part of the ministry's functions. So I am proposing to appoint 3 coordinating ministers to oversee work involving multiple ministries in 3 areas. 1 is national security, 2 is economic and social policies, and 3, infrastructure. 2 ministries will have 2 ministers each, and they are MOE, Ministry of Education, and MTI, Ministry of Trade and Industry. Their scope of work has expanded considerably. MOE, for example, previously used to oversee education from P1 to tertiary institutions. Now the tertiary sector has grown larger and more diverse. More students, more institutions, more different kinds of institutions. Even the universities are not all the same as one another. MOE has also widened its role from developing preschool education at one end to continuing education and training, the skills future part at the other end. And it's got to work closely with MTI and MOM on skills future to make sure that we have good graduates with skills which will help them to find jobs. MTI, the job used to be focused on attracting MNCs to invest in Singapore, but now we're also developing considerable resources to helping SMEs and also encouraging entrepreneurship and research. And MTI has also become much more active in international economic diplomacy and in negotiating trade agreements. In some other countries, education and economy are the purview of multiple ministries. For example, some countries have a ministry for schools and a separate ministry in charge of higher education. For example, universities and IHLs. And they could have a ministry of trade and a ministry of industry separately. We've studied this carefully and we've decided against splitting the ministries, MOE and MTI. Because although the responsibilities have grown, the different parts have to fit together closely. It's like a jigsaw puzzle and you want to make sure there are no leftover pieces or any holes at the end after you have assembled the picture. And we have to coordinate closely together, so splitting the ministries will make this harder. But what I will do is to appoint 2 ministers in MTI and 2 ministers in MOE, each having different responsibilities but working closely together. That's in terms of organization and dealing with challenges. But one important goal of my new cabinet is to prepare the next team to take over from me and my colleagues. It's a urgent tasks, we don't have the luxury of time. Therefore, I'm making a decisive move in this new cabinet and not just an incremental change. Both DPMs, DPM Teo and Taman, will no longer have specific ministerial responsibilities. Instead, I'm putting many of the younger ones into the key ministries so that they can broaden their experience, learn the ropes, and establish themselves quickly with each other and with the public. I'm also reinforcing my team, both from newly elected MPs as well as from existing backbenchers. Meanwhile, I've retained most of my existing cabinet ministers. They will provide steady hands, especially in this more challenging environment. And they will play an important role in mentoring the younger ministers and help to ensure a smooth and successful transition. So let me go through the changes. You have the annex, but I will explain to you my motivations and considerations and discuss. I'll start by introducing the coordinating ministers, and then I'll talk about the new appointments in 4 priority areas: safety and security, jobs and opportunity, taking care of Singaporeans, and then transforming our home. Teo Chee Hean will continue as DPM and Coordinating Minister for National Security. He will be acting PM in my absence. He will continue to be in charge of the civil service, and he'll also help me to guide the newly formed strategy group in PMO that will sit at the center and coordinate the different policy areas and look forward to future policy areas which we need to focus on. Taman will be DPM and Coordinating Minister for Economic and Social Policies. De facto, he's already been doing a lot of this, but the work has expanded because of economic restructuring and Skills Future. Also because we are continuing to strengthen our social safety nets and will continually have to strike the right balance between better protection and incentives to work and to motivate people to do well, and also between what we'd like to do and what we can afford to do. Taman will also continue as chairman of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. The DPMs will relinquish their previous portfolios of Home Affairs and Finance in order to focus on their coordinating minister roles full-time. I'm also appointing Khaw Boon Wan as Coordinating Minister for Infrastructure, because we need to tie together closely the different aspects of urban planning and infrastructure provision: housing, commercial and industrial development, road and rail networks, even our IT infrastructure. Khaw Boon Wan will also be concurrently Minister for Transport. Now let me take you through the policy areas. Safety and security is vital, is a prerequisite for everything else to work. You know about the threats and the developments in our neighborhood, ISIS and the trends in Malaysia and Indonesia connected to this. And this general election has shown that Singaporeans understand the importance of staying united. Investors will notice the results of the GE, and I think Singaporeans will notice, and so will our neighbors. So we will continue to have a strong and experienced team in security. Ng Hen will stay on as Minister for Defence. Shanmugam will remain Minister for Law and will concurrently be appointed Minister for Home Affairs. He was in Home Affairs for a short period before the last general election, so this portfolio will be familiar to him. Vivian Balakrishnan will become Minister for Foreign Affairs. He's done a good job at MEWR, including the international aspects. He's represented Singapore ably at international fora, for example, the climate change talks. In fact, he's in New York now, chairing some of the groups in the climate change discussions. And he's also dealt with transboundary pollution, especially haze. Vivian will continue to oversee the Smart Nation initiative. The second key priority in the next term will be creating jobs and opportunities for Singaporeans. Economic restructuring will require difficult decisions. Skills Future will be important, and the work on Skills Future is just beginning. We also need to develop new strategies for growth and for higher productivity. Many ministries are involved here, including MOF, MTI, MOE, MOM, Heng Swee Keat will be Minister for Finance. He's proved himself in education, which is a very demanding portfolio. As a former civil servant, he's familiar with many different ministries, MAS, MTI, Home Affairs. And now he will oversee our national finances, allocate resources to implement our agenda, work closely with economic ministries to continue creating opportunities and jobs, make sure that we spend within our means. In MTI and MOE, I will be appointing 2 ministers each. In MTI, Lim Heng Kiang will be Minister for Trade and Industry for Trade, and he'll oversee our trade negotiations and particularly our the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is in its final stages, and the RCEP. He will also oversee the EDB and JTC, because this has to do with foreign investments and servicing the foreign investors when they're here. Minister Iswaran will be Minister for Trade and Industry, responsible for industry. He'll oversee the rest of MTI stat boards, or most of the rest of the stat boards, including A-STAR, SPRING, IE Singapore, STB, and the Energy Market Authority. I've asked him to focus on economic restructuring and creating a vibrant domestic economy, and he will relinquish his role as Second Minister for Home Affairs. At MOE, Education, Ng Chee Meng and Ong Ye Kang will be co-acting ministers. Ng Chee Meng will be acting Minister for Education for Schools, which will oversee preschools and all the way from P1 to JC. Ong Ye Kang will be acting Minister for Education for Higher Education and Skills, which will oversee the ITE, polytechnics, universities, and Skills Future. Lim Swee Say will remain Minister for Manpower. He's just taken over there. He's already made an impact with workers and with the PMETs too, and he has more to do there. Chan Chun Sing is Secretary General of NTUC. He will remain Minister in PMO. He'll also take over from Lim Swee Say the Deputy Chairmanship of People's Association, which has an important role engaging Singaporeans. Chun Sing will also be the party whip, taking over from Gan Kim Yong. The third priority area is taking care of Singaporeans. We've made major shifts in social policies over the last decade, but there's still much work to be done. Implementing MediShield Life, planning for an aging population, and strengthening our healthcare system. Gan Kim Yong will continue as Minister for Health because major projects are underway and he can't be moved now. We're building up our healthcare capacity, hospitals, community hospitals, nursing homes. We're improving our healthcare financing with MediShield Life with a PG package. We're implementing the Aging Master Plan, and Kim Yong has to see through these changes. Tan Juan Jin will remain as Minister for Social and Family Development. He just took over the ministry 4 months ago, and he's on the front line developing social programs, especially for needy families. He's also overseeing preschool and childcare together with MOE through ECDA, Early Childhood Development Agency. And this is still a growing area, a major expansion of our social infrastructure. Grace Fu will be Minister for MCCY. She will continue to oversee the Municipal Services Office. She will also take over from Ng Hen as Leader of the House. Josephine Teo will take over from Grace Fu, the Population Portfolio, and help at DPM Teo to oversee NPTD in PMO. We've just announced a package of marriage and parenthood measures in the National Day rally, but we have some further ideas which should be ready to be launched next year. Josephine will concurrently be SMS in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Transport. Finally, transforming Singapore. We have major plans over the next 15 to 20 years and even beyond that to transform our physical environment and make this the best home for Singaporeans. I mentioned earlier that Khaw Boon Wan will be coordinating Minister for Infrastructure and also Minister for Transport. I will appoint Lawrence Wong, Minister for National Development. Already he's overseeing master planning for the Jurong Lake District, but that's a very finite project. this will be a new area for him. It's an important portfolio that impacts all our lives. Khaw Boon Wan hands over the portfolio in good state, with the housing shortage largely solved. And as coordinating Minister for Infrastructure, he'll be able to guide Lawrence in his new responsibilities. Yaakob Ibrahim will remain Minister for Communications and Information and continue to be in charge of Muslim affairs. This is an important and sensitive portfolio because IT and technology are enablers as we upgrade the economy and transform Singapore. And MCI also deals with media and the new media, which are rapidly changing the industry and the way people share and consume news. Masagos will be Minister for Environment and Water Resources. Water is always a strategic issue for us and a strategic resource for us. Climate change and sustainability are high on the international agenda. And Masagos will also assist Yaakob in handling Muslim affairs. And I've discussed this with Yaakob, who intends for a start to appoint Masagos Deputy Chairman of Mendaki. The net effect of these changes is that nearly all the ministries have new ministers and new MOSs and PALSECs. I'm moving the office holders to different portfolios to give them more experience and exposure in different areas of government and to prepare them to take on greater responsibilities. For those who are recently promoted, who have recently been appointed to their portfolios or are doing good work in their current portfolios and cannot be spared, I've asked them to carry on. They'll be valuable in providing stability and continuity to their ministries in a time of transition. I'm promoting 3 MOSs, Maliki Osman, Sim Ann, and Desmond Lee, to be senior ministers of state. I will also appoint new office holders from the backbench as well as from the new MPs. You can see the full list in the annex, but I'll just mention a few. Chee Hong Tat goes to MOH and MCI as Minister of State. Koh Poh Kun will go to MTI and MND, also as Minister of State. Janil Putucherry will go to MOE and MCI as Minister of State and will assist Vivian on the Smart Nation initiative. Bae Yam Keng will be a PALSEC in MCCY, and Amrin Amin will go to Home Affairs as Parliamentary Secretary. I'm losing 3 office holders from the previous team, Lui Tak Yew, Lee Hsien, and Hawazi Daipi. Lui Tak Yew, who was Minister for Transport and Second Minister for Defense, asked to retire before the general elections. Lee Hsien, who was SMS in MTI and MND, also asked to step down and return to the backbenches, and I have reluctantly agreed. He's done good work in his ministries, in MTI opening markets and developing business links with the region, especially in China, and in MND overseeing town council matters, and previously also in MOM, developing our system of continuing education and training and working closely with the industry to drive productivity improvements. Hawazi was SPS in MOM and in MOE. He asked to retire before the general elections. He's been an MP for 4 terms. He's contributed to MOM's work, uplifting low-wage workers, upgrading workplace safety, and he's also worked in MOE on Malay education and developing closer partnerships with the parents and with the community. And I'm personally grateful to Hawazi because he's helped me a lot every year. My National Day rally speech in Malay, he has been my cikgu, polishing it and making sure the language is correct and the message is on target. So I'd like to thank all 3 of them for their many contributions. These moves will help prepare the next team of leaders who will work with Singaporeans. We will now have 37 office holders, up from 33, half of whom are 50 years old and below. I have 20 full or acting ministers. Nearly half of them were elected in the last 3 general elections, and half of them are below 55 years old. And if we look at the MOSs and PALSECs who support the ministers, nearly half of them are 45 years old and below. This is my cabinet at the beginning of this term of government, as we enter our new phase beyond SG50. It's a transition team, so it's a bit bigger than usual. More ministries will see a change of ministers, and the coordinating ministers will coordinate their work and will guide the new ministers in their responsibilities. And I will do a midterm review and make further changes. We don't have time to lose. You've reposed your trust in me. I will structure an effective government and aggressively prepare a new team to take Singapore forward. And to that end, I've given heavy responsibilities to the next generation of ministers. They'll be stretched and tested. They have to prove themselves and gel together as a team. And soon after the end of this term, we must have a new team ready to take over from me. So please give them your full support. We pledge to do our best to work with you, for and for Singapore.